And just to prove how contrived this TSA is, just security theater, it's not there to protect us from terrorism. We're going to have an interview coming up with Jon Corbett. He's the activist of the TSA Out of My Pants website. He was the first civilian to sue the agency, and based on court documents, he was able to expose how the agency's own documents show that there was no real terrorist threat, nothing even in the past 30 years. Now he has just been given a lifetime get-out-of-jail-free pass by the TSA. They've given him a lifetime skip right through the gropey hands of the lines of the TSA because he actually asserted his rights as a free citizen, and they were like, you know what, you're making a little too much noise, go ahead, we're going to just give you a free pass, you don't have to deal with the TSA. So that's really what this thing is all about. It's just to assert total control. Are you going to sit down and take it? Because Jon Corbett's interview is coming up next. He talks about how the TSA granted him all access pass to any flight he wants to take from now on, just because he, you know, sued them for violating his rights.
Well, joining us tonight is Jon Corbett. He's an engineer, a tireless critic of the TSA, and of course he was the first person to sue the TSA over their illegal actions. And his current lawsuit has revealed that in 2011 they were writing internal documents that there was no terrorist threat against either airports or airplanes. It was simply theater. And now he's been given a free pass to get through the TSA checkpoints. We want to talk to him about that. Well, I'm really jealous, Jon. I mean, you've got this lifetime free pass from the TSA, and all I've got is this crumpled up Fourth Amendment. What's going on?
I don't know. You know, you can imagine my surprise when I found out I was enrolled in PreCheck, and kind of laughed at the ticket agent a little bit. She didn't understand why. But
yeah, it looks like I'm sorry. Yeah, tell everybody. I mean, it just came out of nowhere, right? You didn't apply for this, right?
Correct. So the PreCheck program has been expanding a bit. They're trying to include more frequent flyers. So that's possibly how I got in. But I'm a little bit suspicious that perhaps it's to keep me away from the body scanners. Yeah,
you're definitely got to be on their naughty list. Maybe they've got you're on both of their naughty and nice list. I don't know.
It's interesting. You know, since getting started, people have always joked with me that, you know, I'm going to find myself on the no-fly list. And apparently I found myself on the opposite.
Well, you know, you might be on the no-fly list. They don't tell anybody if they're on the no-fly list. We had a guy when I first started here, and he got stuck in Hawaii on his way to visit his wife in Japan, and they took him off of a military flight. He had just had all kinds of security clearances and everything else, and they jerked him off the flight and told him he was on the no-fly list, so he was stuck in Hawaii because there wasn't any way he's going to get off of that. So you could be on the no-fly list, and they don't tell you.
That's amazing. There have been some great strides in the no-fly list in the last couple of weeks with two separate federal judges ruling that the due process received was unconstitutional. So that's good to hear as well.
Yes. Now, there's a quote in this article that Steve Watson wrote. He took it from your blog, and you said, their inclusion of me in this program is further ironic since in 2010, when I filed a motion for a preliminary injunction that would require the TSA not to scan or molest me, the TSA argued that an ad hoc exclusion like that would devastate their impenetrable fortress. But here we are, 4 years later, they've done just that. They give you a pass. Well, you know, they gave the Muslim Brotherhood a VIP pass. So,
well, hopefully I'm not on the same list as they are. But,
no, but it's just arbitrary. Whoever they let in and whoever they don't. And see, that, I think, is the real problem, of course, right? Because I talked about all I've got is my crumpled up Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment did not give us any rights that we didn't already possess. We had those rights inherently because we're human beings. The Fourth Amendment was there to control the government, to keep the government from trampling those rights that we have as individual humans.
Their behavior does seem to be pretty arbitrary, and you know we've seen that throughout the TSA's history. For example, when they banned carrying toner cartridges on airplanes because someone tried to smuggle a bomb through them. It had nothing to do with the toner cartridge; it's just whatever they happened to put it in at the time. You've seen people that are on the no-fly list that shouldn't be it, or people that should be that aren't. We've seen, you know, the PreCheck issues. We've seen, you know, the take off your shoes and your belts, maybe at some airports, but not others, and other times of the day. And we're busy right now, so we'll let you go through without being scanned. And the scanners are on half the lines and not the other halves. And Honestly, the TSA justifies this by saying that everything is random and unpredictable, and that's a load of BS. The TSA, if they wanted good security, would be consistent in applying their security, but they're not.
That's right. And it really boils down to arbitrary power. If you're going to exercise arbitrary power over a population, then the total power, it has to be arbitrary in that sense. So, I mean, real total power is one that's exercised arbitrarily over people. It's exercised at the whim of the people who are running it. They don't have any rules, any guidelines, and they really don't have any purpose. They're not there for our security. That's what we're trying to hammer into people. And this came out in your lawsuit. Now, I mentioned that you were the first one to sue the TSA, but you've got a lawsuit that's going now. We've reported on this several times that as part of the discovery process, you came across some very incriminating confessions in TSA documents. They redacted those out of the documents and yet mistakenly posted the lawsuit unredacted so we could see the redactions that they had and what they had redacted. And they made confessions back in 2011 internally that there was no threat against airports or airplanes.
I'm actually barred from commenting on that.
Okay, all right.
The 11th Circuit Court of Appeals has prevented me, but you can comment it all you want. I'm actually the only person in the world that's not allowed to talk about what's in my own legal briefs, if you can believe that.
That's kind of like a fully informed jury association thing, right? Where the judge tells you can't remind people what's in the Constitution of the state. So I'll remind them of that. We keep reminding them of that here at InfoWars. And, well, let me just ask you this. Is that lawsuit, is that still ongoing? It's
still going. The judge in that suit ordered, the judges, the panel rather, ordered oral arguments that are going to happen at the beginning of June this year down in Miami, Florida. So we can't expect a ruling until at least after that.
Okay, well, that's a very important lawsuit, and the timing of it is very important too, the timing of that admission in 2011, because that was happening at the very same time that we were seeing a lot of egregious handling of travelers, a former Miss America beauty contest person, and we had legislators here in Texas that put together a law that would stop that would criminalize that behavior as it should be criminalized. And at that time, the government started to threaten that they were going to shut down flights in and out of Texas. At the very same time, internally, they were admitting, according to these documents, that they inadvertently put on the internet that there was no threat. So we'll be watching that very closely. But let me just ask you this now. Have they won you over now that they've given you a free pass, now that they've changed your fundamental right into a privilege that they've now granted to you? Or
basically.
Yeah, so you're just fine with the TSA now, right?
You know, I never applied for PreCheck. I never enrolled in it because I didn't think it was right that some citizens should have a different privilege than other citizens. Even if it was just a matter of paying a fee, no one should have to pay a fee, no matter how small, to be able to have their rights to travel and their right to be free from unreasonable search and their right not to be molested or groped or x-rayed as they travel. So, you know, I never asked for it, and
that's right.
I really hope that they start extending it to everyone.
I know that they're not going to be able to co-opt you. You've been a tireless fighter against this from the very beginning. And what we see happening here, the loss of the presumption of innocence and the idea that they can stop and frisk anybody, the idea that they do dragnet searches of all of our data, that they store all of our data, it's a complete picture of tyranny. They are establishing a complete infrastructure of tyranny, and we've got to roll this back as soon as we can, as much as we can. And I really thank you for taking the lead on this with your lawsuits, and we'll be watching what happens with this current lawsuit. You said it's coming up in June, so we'll be watching that. Thanks a lot, Jon.
Thanks.
Thank you.